party started. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I don't know why I do this every time, y'all. Let me get myself together. There we go. All right. Well, all right. I got myself together. Praise God. Anyway, this is Lighthouse Ministries. I'm your pastor, Quantus James. I welcome you. Hope all is well. Hope everybody had an extraordinary day. My day was long and wet because, it rained. Brother works outside. So, nevertheless, it rained. I want to thank everybody also, who inboxed me about a particular issue. I've resolved that issue. And I thank everyone who inboxed me. I thank you all. Appreciate the love. And yes, I took care of the issue. So I do thank you all for the assistance on that because a brother didn't know. A brother simply just didn't know. Well, on today, we're going to have a conversation. We're going to have to do some separation, people. We're going to have to separate some things today. We're going to have to understand my people. It's amazing how when God talk about his people, everybody's God's people all of a sudden. Everybody's a God's child. Everybody's a children of the Most High. Everybody's, God's favorite, You know how it goes. We know the old cliche, the old song. So today, we're going to get some understanding on something. And we're going to come from the book of Hosea, the prophet Hosea, chapter 4. We're going to look at verse number 6 tonight. I ain't going to keep you long. I just got out of work, so, I ain't going to keep you long. I say that all the time, but it never goes that way. But I'm going to manage tonight and keep it short and simple. But tonight we're going to look at Hosea, the great book of Hosea. We're going to counter it with Ezekiel and 2 Chronicles. Y'all know that. It says, my people, I said it again, are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing that thou hast forgotten the law of thy God. And I will also forget thy children. Well, let's just go on in. When my people, whom God is talking about, when he says my people, there's a separation that occurs. And that separation is dividing the clean from the unclean, whether it's the sheep or the shepherd. I'm going to say that one more time. There's a separation. That's why he said, come out from amongst them, said the Lord, and be what? Separate. You be separate because the clean and the unclean, for your Lord thy God is clean, for thou shalt make you what? Holy. Here's what you have to realize when you become God's people. The purity of you has changed. I'm speak on this in future times, but I'm going to tell you. Let me tell you how it goes. You ever took a bath, got yourself, you're looking clean, you're looking debonair, you're looking real spifferific, ladies, you're looking real lovely, smelling all good. And you decide one day that after I take a bath and I smell good, I'm going to go play in some dirt. Right? So you're going to go play in a little dirt. Now you get dirty, you get filthy. That's the sin-filled nature of the unclean. Once you was pure, when you cleansed yourself, got yourself together, you was clean and pure. But when you go decide to dive into something, now the difference in that dirt versus the sinful dirt is relatively different. The dirt we speak of is outside, but the dirt the sin speak of climbs inside. One thing about God, and when he says my people perish for lack of, is they're not seeking knowledge. They're not trying to understand the concept of what God is giving to us, because sometimes the preacher tells you certain things, you run with it, you think because the preacher said it, that it makes it right all the time. No, it don't. It relatively really doesn't make it right all the time, because the pastor, if you do this, then God will do this. It don't always work like that. One thing about knowledge is always passed on. You can get knowledge anywhere. You can open a book and find knowledge. You can go to your local store and find knowledge. You can get knowledge through a conversation. But the revelation of God is a different type of knowledge and different type of understanding. In the great book of Proverbs, chapter 4, verse 5 declares that get wisdom, get an understanding, forget it neither decline from the words of thy mouth. Verse 7 declares wisdom being the principal thing, with all thy getting, get an understanding. You have to understand something about when you lack something. And when you're walking with God, sometimes we lack certain things. Why? Because sin has set us apart from God. Sometimes we dive into situations in our lives in which we should never partake in, but nevertheless, we get there. And sometimes we run across people whom we wish, I'm quite sure a lot of us been in a situation, including the pastor, that we never ever said 4 words to. Sometimes we encounter situations with people which we can't really discern and tell how they go because they have what we call a disguise on. Sometimes we run across certain pastors and preachers who preach a word and give a word and think they're coming from God, when their motive is not God, it's personal gain. Sometimes we go places in life that we should not go, or do things that we shouldn't do. Right. See, one thing about a sin-filled situation, when you're unclean, sin is soaks in you. It soaks in you to the point where it kind of as a takeover. Y'all remember Jay-Z, you know, they used to say the takeover. So it takes over your mind, it takes over your spirit. It forces you into situations in which sometimes you will ever find yourself in. Sometimes it finds you going head over heels over a specific man or a specific woman, thinking that you have found the right one, when until you have found the wrong one. Sometimes it has you doing silly stuff like, you know, busting glass, cars, chasing, running down, you know, driving behind each other, you know, that foolishness that, you know, we like to call love, but it's out of stupidity. A lot of times when we speak of sin-filled things and all those natures, that we call those unclean things. But when you reject the knowledge of God, and God is giving you an understanding to tell you why I don't want you there, or why you shouldn't do this, or give you signs and wonders that shall follow on why you shouldn't, and you reject it, and then you walk yourself into a situation. What happens when you walk yourself into a situation? The first thing we say is, God, why didn't you warn me? But I gave you several signs. You rejected my sign because you were looking for a particular sign. Y'all remember the woman that was in waiting on God. God said he was going to come see us. He knocked on the door 3 times. I think first time he came as an old woman. I'm waiting on God. She closed the door. Second time, I think she came as an old man. I'm waiting on God. She closed the door. Third time he came as a child. I'm waiting on God. She closed the door again. And later on, she said, well, God, I thought you said I was going to come see. He said, I came to see you 3 times. See, sometimes we have an expectation on how God should deliver certain, aspects of how things should go. He should tell us yeah or nay. It ain't always that, that easy sometimes dealing with God, because he'll send it to you in such a way that lets you see what you're getting yourself into. A lot of times when we are deciding to move from another location church-wise into a newer location church-wise, we a lot of times move basically off of he say, she say, or what I've heard dealing with the church. There's nothing wrong with, finding new, because sometimes you have to elevate to another space in your spiritual walk with God. But you have to also understand the variants that come with that. Just because it has a larger crowd doesn't mean that God is there. Just because people speak highly sometimes doesn't mean the presence of God is always there. Because sometimes the atmosphere can be conducive to run the same type of spiritual run. All it does is switches certain things in there to make you feel like the presence of God is in there. One thing about this particular piece and talking to Hosea right here. Hosea just wasn't talking to the people. Hosea was talking to the God's people, the priests. Because people got to understand something. And I mean this with utmost respect. I do. Sometimes the priest can be, the pastor can be unclean. I'm just here to tell you. The pastor can be unclean. But why? The sheep will never know. Why? Because it does a great job of hiding what it can't control. Why I put it like that. A lot of times when you visit people and you feel something, you talk to people, most times, most great pastors, in my opinion, when they're not, you can't really tell when they're struggling with something. It's because they hide it so well. You know, we all know a lot of times most pastors these days are dealing with a lot of issues, not just from the sheepfold, you know, from other aspects of what goes on in being a pastor. I'm not just speaking of back in the day when you go visit the elderly and the sick. You know, you have what we call a promotional going on. You know, make sure your church is filled. You know, now they're doing with a virtual. Well, now everything is, you know, some virtual, some back inside, depending on what church you go to. But a lot of times we will never understand if the pastor is clean or unclean. Why? Because he does a great job of hiding it sometimes. But Ezekiel brought something to the pastor. So let me read it from my pastoral shit, so I get an understanding on something. And a lot of times when we do this, sometimes we move in directions and we violate certain situations being a pastor. It says, a priest has violated my law and have profaned my holy things. They have put no difference between holy and profane. Neither have they showed the difference between the clean and the unclean, and have hid their eyes from my Sabbath and profaned amongst them. You have to understand something. When you close your eyes to certain situations, when you know it's wrong. Because sometimes you close your eyes to wrong, but you close your eyes and walk back into it too. We all been there before. Let's just keep it honest and keep it real. See, one thing about my people, and when God said his people, that's a step. I'm going to reiterate this one more time because I want everybody to understand this. That's what we call a separation. I'm going to say this one more time. God's people, that's what we call a separation. When there's a separation, they let you know who is he specifying who his people are. Anytime we begin to walk in God and we begin to march and we begin to do right, we get, you know, we getting ourselves together, you know, and we finally get on that little line. Sometimes we tend to, you know, lean a little bit and fall off a little bit. You know what I mean? We, you know, and then we started going back into other phases. Now, one thing about the devil, he gonna tempt you to see if you're gonna fall back to what you came out of. I'm gonna say that one more time. One thing about the enemy, he's going to tempt you to see if you're going to fall back in what you just came back out of. A lot of times when it, especially dealing with us as humans, some things are drug related, some things are financial related, some things are physical related, male and female, or sometimes, I hate to put it like this, it's true, sometimes it's man on man or woman on woman. I'm starting to find out being a man of God and have an understanding, I'm starting to discern a lot of things amongst some of these brothers. And it's quite disturbing, but at the same time, it is what it is with the brother, you know. But at the same time, when you get pulled back into something, sometimes it's hard to come out of it the second time than it was the first time. We call it backsliding in the Bible. I think Isaiah speaks of it going backwards. A lot of times when you have knowledge for knowledge, you have to understand something. When you come out of something, God is granting you knowledge and understanding, and things you ask for are starting to come and starting to build and start to be given and start to be understood. A lot of times the enemy has to slide in there to stop your progress. So what he does, he brings something familiar to you. He gets you something that you familiarize, that you know quite well, that you have an understanding. Because sometimes they just be tripping with you. Men and women, let's just be honest with you. A lot of times when we move on in our life, it's always an individual or former ex or whatever it is, always trying to impede your path. It never fails. They claim they got themselves together. You know, I'm better from the last time. I ain't like what I used to be. And you know, being you that you have a longevity period with them. You know, we tend to, you know, okay, I'm gonna see. And then so on down the line, you know, you getting to go to church, you're getting to flow in church, and all of a sudden they putting you out of the church. Man, you need to go to church. Let's go do X, Y, Z. And all of a sudden, he or she takes you on a vacation, distracting you from God. Knowledge is rejected when anything pulls you from God. One more time. Knowledge is rejected with anything that pulls you from God. That's a rejection of God. It's like this here. Can I prove it to you? Go ahead, Pastor. I thank you. Appreciate you. It's like dating somebody, right? And you can't find time. But y'all dating. But you ain't got no time. You talk here and there, but you ain't got no time. You slide through here and there, but you ain't got no time. That's where you lose things, because when you begin to date God, or even the individual, you begin to learn things differently that you never saw before. When something is not given, it's not learned. There's a hesitation on that right there. When something's not given, it is not learned. A lot of times when we as people want to find our information, we go look in the book or look online or go to your local library or find someone who has the foreknowledge to tell me how to do certain things. You know, back in the day when I was coming up, you know, I'm old, 41, so I'm old, bless my little heart. They had this cliche about black folks. If you want to hide something, put it in a book. Why? Because they, at that point, particular time, they believe we will open a book and read them. Now we're more advanced. Now we'll dive in something if we feel it's, you know, of our liking, of importance. We're going to dive in and research and find out what it is. But when it comes to the things of God, let me just be truthful with you. We're not going to do it. If you ask yourself this, be honest, how many times this week did you pick up this book? Honestly, I said, how many times this week have you picked up this book? A lot of times that's rejection of God too, because he got knowledge to give you when you don't pick up the book. Well, people hit me with this here. Well, God knows my heart. He does. 1 Samuel talked about him looking at the inner man versus the outer man. But here's the kicker, that God love my heart routine. If you know your heart, because he said in the book of Matthew, he said some lips speak of me, but their heart is far from me. That's a difference. That's a major difference. You can speak God, but you ain't nowhere near God. It's comical to me, because a lot of times people think because they do certain things that they make them, in the essence, I'm in God. Well, a lot of times, if your ulterior motives are really being shown, it tells you that you ain't in God. See, this walk ain't just a walk because you just walking, or you walking for a blessing. This walk is knowledge filled. You shall lack nothing. That means knowledge too. We get things misconstrued because everything that we open the door of the church is, how can God bless me today? Nothing wrong with it. That's one thing I love about Solomon. You know, I know it's Wednesday. You know, I told myself I won't be long today. One thing I love about Solomon is Solomon already, see, this was what people missed in Solomon. Solomon already had everything. He was the son of a king. So he lacked nothing in that department. He didn't need anything, truthfully. He was the son of a king. But he wanted something different. He wanted to be able to judge the people accordingly in the right way. So he asked God to fill him with knowledge and wisdom. Now watch how this comes in. Let me show you how when knowledge gained versus knowledge perish. Let's start with knowledge gained. Solomon gains knowledge. He judged properly to prove the theory correctly. Even two women come and talk to Solomon. That's my baby. No, that's my baby. No, that's my baby. That's my baby. Solomon said, "Cool. Give me the sword right there. Let me do it my way. Give me that hacksaw. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut the baby in half. You gonna get half. You gonna get half." One of the one who claimed was a baby, she said, sure, let me give him my half. But the other woman said, you know what, that's all right. She can have. Because she knew in her heart that's her child. She wanted to see her child live. So Solomon knew right then and there how to discern who child it was. Because one thing about a mother, he won't never let his child die. Come on here, somebody. Now, let's go by knowledge pairs. It's like saying that you're a mechanic and you know how to work on a car. Don't even know what a wrench, pliers, nuts and bolts look like. And then you decide to dive into this. You don't get no formal training. You don't call nobody. You just say, I'm going to do it on my own because it look easy. And you decide to do something on your own and clap that car ain't what it used to be. Knowledge tells us to apply what we know. If we lack in the area, ask and you shall what? Receive. One thing about this word, you can't, it's so knowledgeable, it just flows. It's like eating. it's consistent. When you know how to eat, you know how to pick the fork up, you know how to cut your little meat. It's the same thing with diving in this word. A lot of times people run from the Bible because the understanding of the Bible complexes them. Well, there are easier scriptures to remember in the Bible. A lot of times we don't ask so we cannot receive knowledge. When you reject something, that means you're not receiving. But hold up. I ain't got to the part when God said, when you reject knowledge, you reject me. Did your pastor tell you that? Oh, he ain't got that yet. Okay. Because mine did. Ooh, Lord, he's the woo. He's going to rants about that. I ain't lying to you. He's going some rants. I'm so serious, y'all, boy. We used to stop church. You feel like you rejecting something, he gonna pause. You ain't finna reject what God giving out. He not gonna allow that. He didn't believe in that, which I don't blame him. I understood. I didn't understand now, but I understood why he used to do what he do. Certain things, certain people didn't get it, but I did after a while. But you have to understand the reason why you're being rejected, because the knowledge that you're trying to gain is a worldly aspect, not a godly aspect. That's a difference. We're tying in two things that do not go together. They say oil and water don't mix. It's the reason why. Sin and purity do not mix. Israel's biggest problem was a sin-filled thing. It was a stubbornness thing. It was an idolatry thing. It was a lack of spending time with God thing. That's why they stayed in where they stayed in. You could be chosen all day long. Go ahead, boy. You could be chosen all day long. You could be called 24/7. But you can fall back to the very thing that he called you out of and from. Somebody asked me, can God take the anointing off your life? I tell people this, were you a pastor or elder or whatever you may be, or however you want to see fit in the church. One thing about the power of God, and when you walk in it, the presence of God won't leave you if you walk in the right way. But when you begin to stray away, that's a whole nother story. Well, how far did I go? Now, that's a good question. You got to ask yourself that question. How far did you go when you strayed away and reject what God is trying to tell you? Put yourself in a situation where God's trying to tell you, having conversations that you should not have. One thing about, I remember Saul, when Saul went to go have that conversation with the witch because he couldn't hear God. And he wouldn't conjure up something. But he also knew right from wrong. He knew that when regardless of what you use, you knew that can cost you something. Saul already, see, people don't understand sometimes when you begin to walk in God, especially in the priesthood, is the fact we know already. We know already what can cost us. He still loves us, but what can cost us. And sometimes what costs you can be sometimes hard to get back on. A lot of times, pastors out here know how to woo the crowd. They know how to woo, how to learn it. They know how to woo a crowd. A lot of times, people who can't, say they of God, they know how to talk a crowd. But when you got God, your presence don't have to say a word. Sometimes your very walk just moves it on its own because it declares our eyes on you, as Tupac said. I sound like man. That's what it do. God got all eyes come to you. But one thing about gaining and understanding is the fact of knowledge also helps your children. But when you reject it, you cannot help your child. It's like growing up in the hood. I got to use the hood. I can't use the suburbs. I want a suburban kid. And sometimes when your mama don't know or your parents don't know what you think you gonna know, you ain't gonna know nothing. You just gonna be a product of what you learn from the environment in which you're in. But when you come into the likeness and the fullness of God, then your eyes become open to certain things. Then you begin to move different. You don't settle for what is nothing less than your value when you walk in God. A lot of times we talk a good game, we talk blessings and houses and that's a good thing to have, but they don't, God. You have to understand that knowledge is more precious than rubies, sapphire. That's Bible. The reason why knowledge is so valuable and so needed is because not only, let me show y'all something. One thing about God's knowledge is a hidden treasure. It's a hidden treasure. It is a hidden treasure. And it's hidden only, and we're given to only those who diligently seek him for knowledge. A lot of times, churches don't preach on seeking God for knowledge and understanding. Only in prayerful times when I'm going through something. Only in prayerful times when I got to fight through something, then I'm going to go find God. Then I'm going to go see what God say then. But if I ain't going through nothing, and I got everything I ask for and I want, do I honestly need God? Yeah. Do I honestly need God? When we decide to give ourselves to God, we actually not giving out of ourselves. We're giving out our inner self to God. It's like a man and a woman giving themselves to each other. That's what we give to God. We get the inner person to God. We're not getting the outer shell because he doesn't look at the outer. He made the outer when he fashioned you and got you from the dust of the ground. He see that. He missing that. But it's the inner person that he's going inside. That's why the Holy Ghost comes in you, not out you, but in you. That's the difference. A lot of times I had a conversation with a person about prayer. They say I pray aloud because I know the devil cannot. He's a lie and he's been defeated. Yeah. Even Daniel prayed. He didn't say whether he prayed aloud, but he prayed. And the devil tried to intercept his prayer. So what make you any different from Daniel? Sometimes we don't have to pray aloud. We can pray silently in the church. Until you develop the tongues, then you pray, in my opinion, you pray silently. Because your biggest warfare is a silent attack on the devil. Not something he already knows that's coming. See, we ain't gonna lack. We ain't lacking for. We ain't gonna. Hosea said, "My people perish for lack of." We gonna gain. You see how we lacking because we feel like if we do this a certain way, then certain things will happen. But clearly in your Bible, even doing certain ways that the devil still is tactical enough to even grab hold of it. He fought the angel to get to Daniel's prayer. Sometimes your biggest warfare, you could be in a room full of demons and not know it. But you begin to pray out loud. They just begin to take it and they're just ripping and trying to tear it to shreds. But when you begin to pray silently and move silently, the enemy got to figure out what you don't. But hold up, here's the kicker. Let me help y'all out with something. You got to understand what's in you. Some of y'all, not all, are still fighting certain things. So naturally, that means that enemy, that demon, still possesses you in a sense. I'm not demon possessed, yes, you, because when you got a funky attitude, and you're always getting mad and angry, ready to fight, that's a demonic thing. Well, Jesus got mad too, yeah, off what he heard. But when he heard what they said, he spoke to them. Even when they challenged him, he still remained calm. But he called them a viper's generation. The Bible didn't say what tone he said it in. We can all imagine what he said, but we were what actually there. But when you find God, you seem to be more calm. When you develop knowledge, you seem to be more calm. But when you ain't got no knowledge and you ain't got no God, you become active. As the young folks say, I'm active out here. I get active. You know, it's time to jump out that porch. I'm getting active. And sometimes lack of knowledge gets you active in the grave, in jail, in the hospital, in places that you need not be at any time. Active gets you make poor decisions financially. Can cost you your house, your home, and your car. That's how you perish when you lack of. You also become a little, see, it's like washing dishes. When you begin to wash a dish, it gets clean. But when you pile stuff on the dish, it get a little dirty. That's just how unclean you get, because you just throw, food, because, you get your greens, your collard greens, your yams, you get your cornbread, you get your vinegar on top of it, you get your juice, you get all that good stuff, mixed in. And then you're full, you're feeling lovely, but your plate just dirty. Notice everything that was on your plate that caused that plate to get dirty. Notice how everything has a spot where it lays at. That's good. That's something. I didn't even look at it that way, but but thank you, Jesus. That's the inner course of us. Y'all remember, I talk about this all the time. Y'all remember when Jesus saw the man at the tomb? Y'all know what the man, well, some of y'all do. I don't know why I said it, because half y'all don't know. He called himself Legion, for we are many. Why? Because when the first one get out you, he got to bring more with you. That caused uncleanness. We don't know what triggered a man to be sinful, that the Bible didn't speak of that. But we know he had many demons in it. A demon just ain't going to come by itself. It's going to develop traits. It's going to help you develop other things to pull other spirits in you. That's why you have to be careful with certain people or certain individuals that you're around, that you conversate with. That's why the Bible said don't sit at the table with them. Reason why, it's a fellowship thing. When you sitting at the table, you're fellowshipping. A lot of times you don't know what they're saying. They may be cool individuals and cool people, but you don't know what they're saying, what they're conjured up spiritual wise. Sometimes the spirit doesn't talk loud. Some of y'all catch that later on, but he'll catch you in the spirit when you talk. That's why a lot of people, when people say something spiritual, they look at them because they heard it in the spirit. A lot of people are so filthy and demonic to the point where they hide it so well. It blends in so good that it's almost if like you can't determine whether they're good or not. And then when something happens, something occurs, you look at them, I can't believe such and such did that. They seem so different. Look at a lot of your serial killers. A lot of times when we look at the knowledge of God and we think God is just too hard and too harsh. He won't cut no corners. He's not supposed to. So one debated when we were, why would he, if he know that how we gonna be, why would he allow us to have free will? Because sometimes he want to see if you really gonna choose him. Sometimes he's gonna actually want to see, are you gonna choose him? Or are you gonna choose what you've been into? There are children of God and there are children of the devil. I think St. John, well, the Epistle of John talked about that. I think it was the 4th chapter, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to go back and research that. But a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people feel like everybody, oh, God for everybody. If he created good and evil, that means the devil got kids too, right? Nah, man. Well, let's prove that theory. Look at my man who came out with the shoe. What the boy name is? Lil XY Nas, or Lil Paul's Nas, or Nas with the X, or whatever his name is. He comes out with a shoe. a tennis shoe. Not only did he come out with a tennis shoe, he found one of the most popular brands to promote his tennis shoe. He found one of the most popular brands to promote the tennis shoe. Now, I didn't know this until I did a little research and heard someone tell me. He put blood in the bottom. It looked like a 97 Air Max to me. I could be wrong. Somebody else can tell me it looked a little different. I don't know. It looked like a 97 Air Max. But it was blood, supposedly. Real human blood, supposedly. I don't know how true that is, but real human blood at the bottom of the shoe. Not only that, the box that it came in, one of the symbols was a symbol of a satanic church symbol with the numbers implied 666. What you think he promoting? Then he made a video. I don't know if y'all seen the video. He made a video. Not only that, a young child wrote to him, a young teenager, thanking him, saying that he's happy that he allowed him to come out the closet, that he feels free now. And you mean to tell me my people perish for lack of, when knowledge is right there? But we tend to turn the other cheek as if nothing goes on. We tend to accept what society gives us as nothing. I'm not talking to the world. I'm talking to God, my people. That's who I'm talking to. Tonight is one of them stern. I'm talking to my people. That's who I'm talking to. We love what the world gives us. It feel like if the world accepts it, we should too. We should embrace some of these things. Let me expound something to you. I remember one, I don't know, he might get mad. And then he might not. I know how he is. One Sunday, my old pastor, we sat there, and he came into church. He was upset, mad. I mean, he was off the chain this day. He said, how can the church be the hospital if they allow certain people to go in the church and come out the same way they came in? Holding hands with another of the same sex. When you go in the building of the church, and I agree with him when he said this, your deliverance should be taking place. If you're a drug addict, deliverance should be taking place. Will it not be all okay? Sometimes them demons, they can't fight them demons because they don't know how. But if they find a pastor who got some power, or a church who got some power, or an elder who got some power, who can lay hands on, they'll be free. See, sometimes when you teaching, you got to be honest and go and talk about this certain stuff. And a lot of people don't want to hear it. They like to hear, how can you elevate and how can you get up in life? Well, you can't get up in life if you don't know what you're facing. If you don't know what you're going against. A lot of these things are spiritually based. Ain't nothing in this world that people fighting. It's just humanistic. It's spiritual. That's why that tree was called the tree of knowledge of what? Good and what? Good and what? Good and who? Evil. That tree had seeds on there. That when it bit, it opened up things. See, we just didn't get here by no accident. All this just didn't come out on just because. This ain't something we just walked into. That's why you had an Adam and a second Adam. Why you think the second Adam had to come? It wasn't just based on it was just one based on a lot of fornication. It was based on all that stuff. Don't get it twisted. But it was more to that because spiritual things have walked into a place where they did not belong. So now we're in a fight. That's why a lot of times when you get attached to an individual, and they know how to, to keep you where you need to be at. They know how to woo you and steer you and pull you in. Why? Because they're tactical. One thing about the enemy, he becomes very tactical. That's why the Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. Why? Because we're not trying to get knowledge. We just trying to walk in life and, God gonna bless me. God got a blessing. I just played that on my little thing Sunday. My name on it. That's all we need. Long as God got a blessing, I'm good. If the devil can't take, I'm good because I got a blessing. Let me help y'all or something. It's gonna come a time when you're gonna be in a spiritual warfare and you ain't gonna know what to do. Ain't gonna know what to do. Ain't gonna know how to attack it. Ain't gonna know how to get yourself delivered. None of it. That's I'm telling y'all. I'm giving you knowledge tonight. I can't let you perish for lack of. Because when you walk in that world, you are already perishing right there because you allow them to pull you into something. One thing about church, folks, we love for our things outside to pull us inside. We love it. I was guilty of that too, so don't feel bad. We have to ask ourselves this question: was it really worth me leaving from God's care to just go see something? God, I'll be right back. I'm going to see something real quick. Ain't that something? Just to go see something real quick. I come back, Lord. You know, after you know what you saw and what you thought it was. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, I tell people all the time, man, if you gonna pray for your leader, pray for your pastor, because he faced the biggest warfare for you sometimes that you don't even know. He on his knees faithfully. He trying to figure out what he crying for. He ain't got nothing to do with what's going on. But a lot of times, a lot of pastors out there who ain't crying, who ain't on their knees praying, they might have it going on. But somebody also has to pray on their behalf as well, because knowledge teaches me to pray for that. You look at the book of Hosea. Hosea had to go find him a heart. But God had to restore her too. And, you know, read the 3rd chapter. That's it. But, yeah, it gets deeper than just, you know, your basics. When you walk with God, you on a spiritual high. You're not just on a gold and silver and sapphire high. You're on a spiritual high. Because a lot of times, some of y'all can walk in your house and y'all got a demon sitting in your house. Y'all don't even know it. And it sees your children and decide to play with your children. A lot of times you can go to the store and the enemy just been watching for so long. He finds somebody just to watch you. See, we already know and trying to figure out where you're going. A lot of times, one thing about the enemy, he follows you everywhere you go. He has someone assigned to you just as well as God does. See, not just on their seed because I read, but I also have to understand this is a spiritual walk that I walk in. It carries over into the natural for what I see. But if you can see spiritual things, I guarantee you'll think differently. A lot of times, and we don't even really know the tactics of the enemy, truthfully. The enemy got so many tactics. I'm going to give you the greatest one. And people don't, some people know, some people don't. I gave you the example of the little boy, little XY Nas or Nas XZ or whatever the boy name is. How you use devices. And I think Ezekiel talk about that. I could be wrong. I'm going to dive into my book on that one. But how you use your devices. Your phone, your tablet, your TV, your PlayStation, your Xboxes, your DVD players, or whatever. How you use your devices of good or evil determines how you are. You know, Facebook, all the, you know, challenges, silhouette challenges, and you know, bust it down, you know, all that stuff. That a lot of times that draws men in, which it does. It draws women too. That's another story. But it captures them for a moment. And all of a sudden their mind go a whole nother place. And when their mind goes somewhere, something else can step in and tell you, look at something else. That's the tactic of the enemy. But when you know the enemy is designed to draw you in, just to pull something out, just to place something in you, then you know what to stay away from. A lot of times when we sit there and we begin to minister to ourselves and pray, and Lord, I ain't going to go back to what I came out of, and I ain't going to deal with Joe Blow again, and I ain't going to deal with nobody near Joe Blow. Then you get a gentleman who covers himself as Joe Blow, but then he does it a whole nother aura because you forgot to cover yourself in a whole nother way in your prayer life. Or vice versa, when, you know, he comes out of dealing with Boom Shika, you know, I ain't fooling with nobody like Boom no more. Boom got too much going on. But then he seen somebody named Keisha. Keisha got it going on, but Keisha got some tendencies that remind you of Boom Shika. But I didn't pray over something. My knowledge didn't, Lord, I'm lacking in something. You lack in your spiritual eyes. Knowledge just ain't foretold as what you learn. It's also what you eat. It's like, man shall not live by bread alone, but every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. God is a spirit. So what you think you need to be praying against? Wickedness in what? High places. He's a serpent. He's like a little snake. He moves and he gravitates. One thing about him, you understand, he was almost as perfect as God. So what you think he mimicking? I just said something called, I had to catch myself on that. What you think he mimicking? He mimicking God. He has a kingdom like who? God. Come on, talk to me. When the apple was bit, it opened his kingdom up. Now your eyes are come open. But now it's choose this day who ye gonna serve. That's knowledge. That knowledge get a little deeper than just than the eye can hold. Your brain is a sponge for a reason. Absorb it all. Just don't absorb worldly knowledge. Get you some God knowledge in you. Open that book up sometime and read. If you got time to sit there and Google what happened to Shay Shay now, or you got time to figure out why Puddin and Joe Bo broke up, you got time to read your Bible. Because when you read that Bible, then your life begin to change a little bit. You begin to shape a little bit. You don't see stuff that you used to see no more. You get to understand when a person walk up, it's a difference between a charmer, a man who got some good words, and a manipulator. That's a difference, ladies. That's a difference. Well, I can tell. Sometimes women can't tell. Brothers, let me get on us for a minute. It's the difference because she looking good, but she tore up on the inside. When I mean tore up, I'm talking about literally tore up. We so captivated by words and the physicalness that we don't even discern and ask God to show us something about this person. Because a lot of times when you begin to meet people, you give them the benefit of the doubt. Me, I ain't giving you no benefit. I sometimes ask, Lord, what's wrong with this person? That's the first thing I say. Lord, I didn't know what's wrong with them. 9 times out of 10, they're going to show me what's wrong with them. You have to recondition your mind, reprogram your mind. The reason why is because things are finna shift. It's finna be a shifting going on. The church has already shifted in such a way that I had to find different ways to pull you into the church. So what that means now, there's finna be another shift. You think the enemy ain't gonna find another way to shift your mind off something else? Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people perish for a lack of. Jesus spoke to a man. Told him, how can you discern? How can you trying to discern the sky, but you can't discern the seas. You can't discern the times. You can't discern what's going on. Why people perish for a lack of. It's good Bible study tonight. It's good to sometimes talk about things other than how can God bless you, which we should. But sometimes how can I learn something outside of a blessing that God has put in this book? How can I discern if I'm sitting next to a demon that I don't even know? He might be praying something against me for something to come down. Yeah, but let me be honest. Y'all never said that. You just say what it is. Y'all never said by somebody, whether you know him or not, but you see him you see him. I ain't gonna say, it might not be consistently, but you see him. And all of a sudden, you sit by him and they may be, they just do something unorthodox, or whatever. And the next thing you know, you feeling kind of funny. You go home, I ain't feeling too good all of a sudden. And maybe that's just me. Is that just me? Okay, cool. I sometimes wonder I'm gonna be honest with you. Who is this? Because sometimes we get this little eerie feeling. Women, y'all get feelings when when a man messing up, y'all get that little women intuition kick in then. Oh, it flies up then. You got your antennas up then. But your antennas ain't up when you know that when that man come across the Rico Suave, he's saying the right things. You ain't discerning nothing then. He too smooth. He's so elegant. He smells so smoothness. Yeah, y'all do it, brothers. She looking good, looking nice in that dress. Got them heels on, smelling like Why antennas ain't up then? I crack jokes, but I'm serious on this. I always had. Now I could be wrong. Somebody gonna come at me. I already know they is. I feel when a person looking too good, especially when a little honey looking too good, nah, I'm gonna tell y'all something. This happened to me once, and Jesus spoke in a parable, so I'm speaking my parable. One time, I had spoke up a design of a woman. I'll never forget it. Spoke of how she should look, how she should walk, even how her conversation, even to how she step and turn her head. I just just running with somebody. I said, man, I want boo. And I understood now when people say you have to be careful with your words because you might get what you ask for. And lo and behold, about a month later, the same person that I designed and spoke of, because I'm out there and I was in the world then, so in order to keep me in the world, he got to present something to me. It walked right up on me, spoke to me, talked to me. I mean, did everything seem like I actually did, like not from the aspect of just doing stuff, just like how I wanted to come at me, the mannerisms and stuff. Me, I wasn't discerning it then. Afterwards, it felt weird. Don't get it twisted. So it walked off, and I said, man, something just ain't. Now keep in mind, now this before I became a pal. I'm out there, doing my little razzle dazzle. And I said, something ain't right. I said, it's crazy how I just spoke that, and all of a sudden it just appeared. My boy, he laughed, like, yeah, you just said that the other day, man. A little while ago, rather. Said that, man, it's amazing, yeah. 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 See, that's why you got to be careful when you praying to God and ask for certain things. And then you got to be careful how you praying and where you praying at. See, when you pray in the secret places, it has to be a secret. But when you praying openly, and sometimes you got to be careful what you tell other folks about your whatever it is you're looking for. Because everybody ain't saved. It's knowledge. You ain't gonna perish tonight. Hosea 4:6 said, my people perish for lack of. So I'm giving it to you on how not to lack of. Everybody ain't saved, people. Some people are so worldly. They may be good people and have a good heart, but yet they spirit just wickedly wrong. Some of y'all could be sitting by a witch or a warlock. They won't know if they're praying against you. You want to pick it up. You will not pick it up. I said earlier, it used to be an old cliche that if you want to hide something from a black person, where you put it at? In a book. If you want people to find God, where you put them in? Oh, let's go to church. Same situation. You put it in the book. You put it in the book. So today, y'all gotta excuse me. I just got out where I had to dive straight on in. I ain't get a chance to get myself together. Praise God. So today, we looked at Hosea 4:6. For my people perish for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will reject thee. There shall be no priest to me. You understand? And since a lot of people forgetting the law of God, which is the knowledge of God, I will forget your children. Hosea 4:6. It says that's when you reject the knowledge of God. I'm giving you Bible. It's Bible study. It was a good teaching night. The Bible extends more than just a brand new car. Knowledge extends more on how to get that. Knowledge extends more on how to get a house. Knowledge extends more on how to, get certain stuff. Sometimes some people, and I'm gonna go into this aspect and help certain people out, because I had a couple of people inboxing, and I told them I was gonna give them an answer. Sometimes you got to get out of this. A lot of people who want businesses, you have to understand what your business is and what you want in your business. You can't go to God with say I want a business, but you have no plan put together. Or if you don't have an idea what you want to do, you need to go and pray about it. Some people just dive in these quick fix business and then they get their money taken. You gotta stop all that. Quit going out of something that's quick, because it don't last long. When you're dealing with God, everything becomes long suffering. Notice I said long suffering. Y'all get that later. Let's not lack knowledge in God. Let's seek for knowledge. Some of us, when we go to bed at night, pray for it, ask for wisdom, knowledge and understanding, to understand what are you trying to do, what are you trying to go in God. I've been blessed the last 2 weeks, week and a half, I'm sorry. And I didn't look forward. I didn't, whatever. Because I want knowledge. I want understanding. These are things I seek in God. Because a lot of times I want to see how Solomon felt when Sheba came up on him. He had a nice little, I think she was a little dog. I don't care what I'm saying. I think she was a dog. The dog, the dog like Honey Depp. And he already had, but she brought more to him. One thing about wisdom and knowledge, it adds to you. It just brings everything to you. When a person want to know something, they'll come find you. And they'll bless you. That's where we at in knowledge. Find me. Bless me. Those who have ears, let them what hear. Be doers of the word. Scriptorial. So, I don't know what she light skinned too. Some of them people on that part of the reason was a little light skinned. I don't know. I'm sorry. I just wonder. I be wondering. Let me see. I know I'm off, so I'm just wondering. Do y'all sometime when y'all be reading the Bible, right? And I was reading on Solomon, and they say, Queen Sheba was the bomb. I wonder, did he hit on her? I wonder, did he like shoot this little shot? He probably had, he had about, he had a lot of women. But I just wonder, did he just take a chance? Today he probably lose it all, risking. We call it risking. I just wonder, then he can have it. But I just wonder sometimes, did he just shoot this little, well, that's another, I'm sorry, I get it. I don't know. Anyway, I'm joking. I don't swag on, they don't go crazy because I'm joking. I do wonder that though. Because, we live in different ages, but I know they thought like we thought, just being honest. But nevertheless, tonight's Bible study, we consisted of Hosea 4:6, for my people perish for lack of knowledge. And because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will reject thee. For thou hast forsaken my law, I will forget your children. I will forget your children. That's another reason why we don't reject knowledge of God, because we got to think about our kids. We want our kids to be full of knowledge and understanding. Why? Because you got to pass knowledge on. That's powerful. But anyway, I said I was going to do 30 minutes. Nevertheless, I always end up going an hour. Because I had to get out that knowledge then, Okay. So today, of course, y'all know, next week, last week we came off our 7-day prayer as we get in preparations coming up for the final 2 weeks of April. We're going on our fast, our daily fast and our consecration at the end of the month, coming into the month. So we'll be prepared for the beginning of the month. We want to be prepared coming into something. We come prepared at the end, at the beginning, and we be prepared at the end to start a new beginning. And that's our mantra, So as we get ready next week, we're going to start back up our 7-day prayer and meditation again for 7 days. And then following week, if the Lord said the same, we're going to follow in when I start off with our fasting. Not only our fasting and our consecration for the last 2 weeks. And when we consecrate, we're going to consecrate on God. And what we're going to do is we're going to begin to ask God for certain things. We're going to begin to ask God to fill us with knowledge and understanding. We're going to begin not just ask God, can I get a car? Can I get a new home, Lord? No. We're going to start to dive into and let me get closer to you, God. Because when you get, Matthew 6:33, seek the kingdom and his righteousness, all these things shall be what added. We want God to add on to us. We just don't want God just to, just say he God because he blessed us. It's time out for that. Let God add on to you. Let him add you. Let him add him in you. Some of y'all need some Holy Ghost. So, and we get preparation for that starting Sunday. We start to make our 7-day prayer meditation leading up into our fast and our last 2 weeks of consecration as we get ready to come into the month of May. We begin that month. We're going to begin on a high note because, wow, we coming in the spring, heading into summer. Things finna heat up, so our prayer life is going to heat up. And so our protection is going to heat up. Our knowledge is going to heat up. We're going to get some understanding around here. We're not just going to be people who say they love God but don't know God. We're going to develop a relationship, a rapport with God. We're going to let as God be your boyfriend and God be my, my girlfriend, my husband, your wife. The routine. You married to church, so we got to marry him now. It's more than just, going and coming. And also, starting Sunday, we still on the, I don't know if I brought this up again, but we're still going to be on the sowing in, your tithe and offering. Now, I'm not saying necessarily got to be me, but whatever God placed in your heart, start to build up your storehouse. Spring is approaching, summer's approaching, so when fall comes around, we want things stored in God's house. We want a lot of things stored because when winter comes, you can't, pluck into the ground. So right now, let's start cultivating our ground. I'm going to reiterate that Sunday. So whatever you decide to give your tithe or your offering to whatever church, pray on it first. Just don't do it on no just because. Just don't do it because you see TD, he think he popping. No, tell God, Lord, what do I need to sow? So this week here, we're going to start our tithes and offerings. It ain't got necessarily to be to me. If you do, praise God. If not, I'm doing it too. Start putting it into God's storehouse. Because when he stores up, look at Joseph. Joseph stored up for 7 years before the famine hit. And in 7 years, he was straight. They were straight. So I'm pushing that too. Because I want y'all to learn to be givers in God. Don't worry about always being receivers. Learn to be givers. Because when you give, then they shall be given unto you. That's Bible. That's Bible right now. I want y'all to be givers. You ain't necessarily looking at the pastor. I don't look to get paid from this. I love this. I love this. When God give me my building, I'm going to love it some more. If I got 2 people, I'm still going to preach like it's 40. If I got 1, I'm still going to preach. I can have 1. And they can be sitting there 1 chair. I'm still going to preach like it's 1 million in there. I don't worry about how many people on the live no more. I worry about the teaching of God because somebody needs it. So we're going to start building our storehouse up. We're going to start building God's storehouse up. We're going to put things in place. We want God to shift things in our lives. We got to start shifting gears right now. I know in spring things should be blossoming up. That's true. Start playing for your, what you like and what you, more of what you desire from God. But also we're going to store up for when the fall comes and the ground get hard. But we still got stuff in the storehouse which we can go get. So I'm still pushing that. Sunday, we're going to start our 7-day prayer meditation back up, leading into our fast and our consecration toward the end of the month. Y'all know we're going to be prepared. We getting prepared. So when worldly things hit, the people of God are going to be saved and ready to go. Also, I'm debating. Well, I'm not debating. I'm just going to pray on it, which is a debate. Posting of scripture a day, or keep doing what I'm doing, assign you book, what section to read. I hope y'all taking notes on this. So if I'm teaching on something and y'all read it, y'all can go say, Pastor, they said boom, and hit me with it if I get there. And I can go praise Jesus. Sometimes Pastor like when the sheep are already on it. Because that means we can defeat the enemy faster. You beat the enemy with the word. Don't listen to these folks, devil, better get out of my house. He ain't going nowhere. He ain't gonna move off you because you said, devil, get out of my house. He ain't going nowhere. They don't move him. They don't even scare him. But if you lean on that word, y'all remember what Jesus told him? Y'all remember when Jesus told him, man does not live by bread alone, but every word that what proceeded out the mouth of God. So we're gonna get it together. We're gonna get it together. That's my beautiful auntie. Hey auntie, how you doing? How's you doing, auntie? That's my beautiful auntie right there. So I'm gonna adjourn. I have to get myself together, get my life together here. I got to, find me some nourishment. I'm glad I got myself cleansed. I cleansed myself. So as I prepare to end my night, I got to get ready to study again in preparation for Sunday. So remember, 7-day meditation is going to start this Sunday, leading up to our fast and our consecration for the end of the month, so we can prepare for May. See what May comes with us. The world's going to fast all this month, but the Lord may have it going in June. So maybe come in May. I know some of y'all trying to, some of y'all doing an intermittent fast right now, trying to get your stomach down. Bless y'all a little hard. I know some of y'all is. But anyway, y'all be good. Y'all be blessed. Dive into your word. If I can give a word that I suggest you read the book of Mark or Luke. Read Luke the physician and see how his perspective of the inner, because Luke was a physician. So you think he's a doctor. So he's gonna see things from what? The inside. There's always a different perspective. So learn to look at the, from a different perspective when reading the word. Luke was a physician. Dive in Luke. Watch how the wordplay changed in Luke and Matthew. Compare the scripture. Compare Mark and see how Mark saw it. Then compare John and see how John saw it. Then dive in Luke and see how Luke saw it. It's going to be seen totally different. I don't know if y'all was taught that, but it's going to be seen totally different in that aspect. So when you see Mark, Luke, John, and James, all of them see it differently. It's like us, going to an altercation or something happened. I saw it this way, but she may have saw it this way. He saw it that way, but she may saw it different. It's like a prophet. Every prophet doesn't see the same thing. One may see the leg, one may see the foot, one may see the arm, one may see the heart, one may see the shoulder, one may see the eyes. We all see differently. That's how the Bible goes. Each book sees, they've been through something, but hold up. When you look at the Old Testament, a lot of those were together during the same time. Remember that. Sometimes like Hosea was during David's time. I believe chapter verse 3 and 5. At that time, he's restoring Gomer, which was Hosea's wife. And afterwards, the children of Israel returned, seeking the Lord their God, and David their king shall fear the Lord and his goodness in the latter days. See, David was king during that time. A lot of those things was going around the same time. This didn't happen, some of this stuff, Hezekiah, all that was the same, some of this, the same time. Be mindful of that. That's something I just gave you knowledge on. You can't say the pastor don't give you knowledge. Praise God. But anyway, y'all get yourself some rest. Feed your kids. Let me look on. I see somebody on here. I wonder if has she cooked yet or she at work. I'm gonna see what she did. I hope she, got herself together. She don't do nothing during the day. But just lay down. I ain't gonna put her business out there like that. But while you laying out, grab that Bible. Grab that Bible. Don't have me come up to the light. Now, don't have me come up to the light. So, y'all be blessed. Dive in your Bible, people. It ain't gonna hurt you. It'll bless you. I promise you. Y'all be good.